New Horizons might be over 3 years old, but new players are still joining us all the time, and veteran players are often returning to the game after breaks. So still to this day, one of the most requested types of videos I get asked to make is tips and tricks, so I thought I'd go over another 10 tips and tricks that I wish I had known sooner in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Whether you're new to the game or you've been playing for a long time already, hopefully you can learn something new. So let's jump right into this. Now, whilst many assume that you might just need to use your ladder tool or even ladder setup kits to traverse the cliffs around your island, there is actually another way that is much more cost effective and honestly I think looks great, and that's actually using your vines as ladders. Now, you can get vines from certain mystery Cap'n Islands, or you can get them from Happy Home Paradise where they're actually in complete abundance. You'll find so many there, I mean you'll be literally swamped in vines. Leave a like on the video if you think vines are the best, and if not, leave a like anyways because I really appreciate it. And this is really great because not only does it look super cool, it has a really great functional purpose, and you'll use much less materials or cash in case you wanted to create an incline when you're using these vines instead. Of course, inclines still have their uses because villagers won't be able to get up the cliffs, I believe, if you don't have any of those, and just in general, it's great to have them as a thing around your island, but I still recommend using a lot of these vines too. After all, there's only so many inclines you can put on your island, so having this as an option to make easy traversal of the cliffs is really great. And like I said, if you can access a Cap'n Island, or even better, you have the Happy Home Paradise DLC, you'll be able to get a lot of these. And as I've said, aesthetically, these are one of my favorite items in the whole game. If you have a jungle core island or a swamp core island, then this could be the right type of item for you to use. Now here's a little trick that I learned about wasps in case you want to avoid them. It seems like wasps will actually only spawn on non-fruit trees. Now whilst there are benefits to actually shaking trees and getting wasps, like unlocking the recipe for medicine, I believe there's also some Nook Mile rewards for getting stung by wasps and then passing out, a lot of us just want to avoid them, especially if we've already unlocked all of that and we don't need to get a wasp for our Critterpedia. So knowing which types of trees they can spawn in on definitely helps you avoid them. Whilst I wouldn't completely advise avoiding all non-fruit trees, if you really aren't feeling like dealing with wasps that particular day, then you could avoid shaking them. But one reason that you might want to shake them is the fact that 2 furniture trees will spawn around your island every day. So my next tip, which kind of contradicts the last one, is to make sure you get these 2 pieces of furniture by shaking ordinary trees. Now, as far as I'm aware, you cannot get this furniture item from your fruit trees. I believe they can only drop from the regular hardwood and cedar trees. So if you want to maximize the amount of items you can find in a day and get some really cool random items from a tree, which is still one of the funniest mechanics in Animal Crossing, to be honestly, that a sofa can just be hiding up in a tree, then you should consider that at least from your island you can get 2 of these per day. I believe that if you go visit a mystery tour island you might be able to get even more, but I'm just referring specifically to our own islands when mentioning this tip. Now, in one of my last tips and tricks videos, I mentioned a tip where you can actually customize your tools in order to reset their durability. However, now I want to mention in this video that that's something you might not actually want to do, as you will gain Nook Miles for breaking your tools. Of course, you'll also gain Nook Miles for crafting new tools as well. So ultimately, whilst it might be a good idea to stop your tools from completely breaking, especially if you're low on bells or resources, generally I would say it's actually probably for the best for you to break them given how the Nook Mile rewards are set up. Now, if you've already completed all of these like I have, then you don't need to worry about this at all, and you can simply go ahead and customize them to reset the durability, which I do think is an incredibly useful tip to know. But if you're still trying to progress through these, then I would highly recommend that you actually do let a lot of them break, so you can craft more, let those break, and the cycle goes on and on. Yes, it is a bit frustrating, but those Nook Mile rewards can definitely be worth getting, so this is what I would recommend. If you have the pipe item, which was a part of the Mario and Animal Crossing collaboration a few years back, then you'll know that you can use it to teleport around your island. However, a tip that you might not have known is you can actually use it to teleport indoors, which is such a cool little secret. I've seen some people use this on their dream islands to teleport people to secret little rooms to really create a nice scene. Or if you just need quick access to your house at any point, then you could put a pipe inside of your home and then put one outdoors somewhere convenient, and you'll be able to teleport directly to your home, which is really useful. Sadly, this does not work for villager homes. There's no way of putting a pipe in there and then teleporting to it. Whilst you can put a pipe in there, sadly it doesn't functionally work like that. This will work for any player homes, so that can be really useful to know about. Here's a useful tip if you have Happier in Paradise DLC. If you head into the hospital which you've built on a Monday, you might actually see Joan and she will give you some free turnips. Now, in case you didn't play the older games, Joan is actually Daisy May's grandmother. She's the original turnip seller around the towns and islands of Animal Crossing, but she retired in this game. Thankfully though, while she's getting her checkup at the hospital, you can actually get some free turnips from her, which is really cool. Whilst it's honestly not a ton, it's a really cool throwback to the past Animal Crossing games, and it's still something that can be really useful. It's not like she's just giving you 1 bells or something like that. You could add these turnips to the pile of ones you've already got and just make a little bit of extra profit, which can be really helpful, especially if you are low on bells in the game, like I often am, sadly. And I think it's just a good idea to know where some of the secret and special characters are in Animal Crossing New Horizons, because there's actually quite a few. Now, this next one might seem obvious, but read the loading screen tips. Now, if you've started up the game since the huge 2.0 update in November 2021, Tom Nook would have actually given you this Nook 101 advice app on your phone, which will give you a ton of useful tips which you can check for your Nook phone. However, they also appear in the loading screens of the game too. And whilst these tips and tricks videos can definitely help out a lot, the tips actually in the game can be really useful too and help you learn about things you had no idea about. This app is probably one of the most overlooked in the entire game, but it can be so helpful. Even if you're a veteran player, it has some stuff that can be super useful to know. Now, if you didn't actually get this from Tom Nook, I believe you can head into Resident Services and go to the Nook stop machine and exchange some of your Nook miles for this app on your Nook phone. So yeah, definitely make sure you've unlocked this one because it has some great advice for new players and even some helpful tips for veteran players as well. Now, one of the most questions I've gotten on this channel about Animal Crossing New Horizons is how I've unlocked this app, the Nook Mile Shopping app on my Nook phone, whereas a lot of other people have to go to the Nook shop machine in Resident Services and access Nook Shopping and their catalog through there. Well, to unlock it, you actually need to buy 100 items from your catalog, and then you will unlock it as an app for your phone. So it's fairly simple, but of course it will cost you some bells and maybe take a little bit of time, given that you can only order so many things per day. But I definitely think this is something that is worth doing, because having this app just on your Nook phone at any time is incredibly convenient and one of my favorite things in the game. I find myself using the catalog and the Nook Shopping seasonal tab all of the time to get special items so I don't miss anything. Whereas when I had to check it in Resident Services, I definitely didn't have as much motivation to do so. So yeah, this can be really helpful to know. And like I said, I hope this answers the question for the hundreds of people who've asked about it, which I can totally understand because this is a really cool app and one of the must-haves on your Nook phone. Next, there's actually a lot of locations in the game where you can get the DIY recipe bottles. You probably know that you can get one from your beach every single day. I'm sure that's something you've already been doing, but there are other locations too. For example, you can get lots more by visiting Mystery Tour Islands using your Nook Mile tickets at the airport. As far as I'm aware, these typically just contain the same sorts of things that you would get from the recipe bottle on your own beach. Since the 2.0 update, you can actually get them from Cap'n Islands too, and these ones are a little bit more special because they can obtain special DIY recipes related to the season. You might visit a Cap'n Island that is set in winter, for example, so you might get some Christmas or holiday themed DIY recipes. And typically, I've seen a lot of the DIY recipe bottles on Cap'n's beaches actually being the food ones. And you can tell right away because they will look slightly different. You can also get a recipe bottle from the beach in Happier in Paradise if you've purchased the DLC, and this one can contain some special DLC exclusive items, such as some of the ruin or vine furniture, or even the glowing moss furniture too. So if you want to maximize how many DIY recipes you're getting per day, then I would highly consider remembering this list of locations because it's a really important thing to know. And it will certainly add up if you're visiting all 4 of these each and every day. I actually don't really have many more DIY recipe bottles to collect now at this point, despite there being hundreds and hundreds of recipes in the game, so yeah, I definitely recommend using this tip because that's exactly how I did it. Although the Cap and Island and Happy and Paradise methods haven't been in the game since the very start, so if you took a break for a long time, you might not have actually known about those. Now, one of the biggest complaints I see about Animal Crossing New Horizons is when villagers barge into your home uninvited, and yes, this definitely can be very frustrating, but here's a little tip that you might not know about, or at least I had no idea about myself. Now, it seems like some people assume that the only way to get rid of your villagers when they're visiting your home is to wait for them to invite themselves out, or at least that's the way of doing it so they won't be too upset. And whilst that is very considerate of you, there is a much faster way of kicking them out, and that's simply heading out the door. When you head out of the door, you won't actually leave your home, you'll just be showing them out. So you won't have to worry about leaving your house and then coming back in again, say you were in the middle of decorating or something. Instead, it will just invite them out and not kick you out of your own home. I did actually make a pretty viral YouTube short about how you can put cockroaches in your house by time traveling, and then villagers will immediately leave because they find it so disgusting, but honestly, this tip is probably a lot easier, so I would recommend utilizing this one instead. Although there are definitely benefits to villagers visiting your home, as you can get some exclusive dialogue from them, I believe, if they visit. They might comment about certain things that you've put in your house, and I know a lot of you like seeing special dialogue from your villagers, so it might actually be a good idea to put up with them when they're inviting themselves in, just so you can get that special dialogue from them. Unless you are trying to decorate, that is, because then you will have to kick them out, because for some reason, the game doesn't let us do that when we have company over. I guess it's our character being really polite. So yeah, those are 10 tips and tricks that I hope you found useful. Down in the comments section, I'd really appreciate it if you left your own tips for other players. This could be a really helpful way of all of us teaching each other something new about the game. Anything interesting or new you've learned about the game could be a goldmine to other players, so I hope you'll share your tips and tricks. If you made it to the end of this video, then be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below so I know that you did. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on channel notifications for more videos.